I beheld till the thrones were cast down, and the Ancient of Days did sit, whose garment was white as snow, and the hair of his head like the pure wool. His throne was like the fiery flame, and his wheels as burning fire. A fiery stream issued and came forth from before him. Thousands ministered unto him, and 10,000 times 10,000 stood before him. The judgment was set, and the books were opened.
Isaiah 11. And there shall come forth a rod out of the stem of Jesse, and a branch shall grow out of his roots. And the Spirit of the Lord shall rest upon him, the Spirit of wisdom and understanding, the Spirit of counsel and might, the Spirit of knowledge and of the fear of the Lord, and shall make him of quick understanding in the fear of the Lord. And he shall not judge after the sight of his eyes, neither reprove after the hearing of his ears. But with righteousness shall he judge the poor, and reprove with equity for the meek of the earth. And he shall smite the earth with the rod of his mouth, and with the breath of his lips shall he slay the wicked. And righteousness shall be the girdle of his loins, and faithfulness the girdle of his reins. The wolf also shall dwell with the lamb, and the leopard shall lie down with the kid, and the calf, and the young lion, and the fatling together. And the little child shall lead them, and the cow and the bear shall feed. Their young ones shall lie down together, and the lion shall eat straw like the ox, and the sucking child shall play on the hole of the asp, and the weaned child shall put his hand on the cockatrice's den. They shall not hurt nor destroy in all my holy mountain, for the earth shall be full of the knowledge of the Lord, as the waters cover the sea.
All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Rakakadash. Double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples to us younger brothers. And peace and blessings, salutations to the hopeful that got there pushing his word and truth and in sincerity across the four winds. In the name of Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, pushing to get up out of here. Shalom to the hopeful the believers, the listeners, whomever came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh Bashem Al Shah. All right. And what I want to get into today, continue on in the book of First Kings. All right, we made it to the second chapter. And this is what we're going to see. All right, King David, he's going to pass away. And before he passes away, all right, he's going to give, King Solomon a rundown of how to establish his throne. Things that he would need to do, things that was of high priority, okay, for him, to be able to prosper in his rulership. Okay. So as you go to First Kings, let's say we'll go through it. All right, we're going to see, King David's final final instructions, okay, to Solomon. Okay. So this is Solomon now, he's been, coronated as king, and now this is that completion of that transition from, the era of King David to the era of King Solomon. All right, this is that final transition. All right, very, very interesting times. Now this is First Kings 2:1. It says, as the time of King David's death approached, he gave this charge to his son Solomon. I am going where everyone on earth must someday go. Take courage, all right, and be a man. Okay? So he's saying, I'm going where everyone on earth must someday go. And that's the spiritual realm. And that's another cut on this hell doctrine, that has reared its head amongst Israel. Okay? King David said that he's going where everyone on earth must go someday. Okay? And ultimately, when you die, you go to the spiritual realm. Okay? And you even had this real quick, just because, this hell doctrine has been, all right, just a hell doctrine demon on niggas lately. But you go here to 1 Samuel 28. Just get to the point. What did what did Samuel speak about with Saul and his sons? All right, this is so we know the account, Saul, went to a witch and summoned Samuel. This was after Samuel was dead, so he was in the spiritual realm. Okay, he was summoned, on the left hand side through his witch, at the order of Saul. All right, so this is the dialogue between Samuel, okay, and King Saul, and it says, 1 Samuel 28:17. It says, the Lord has done just as he said he would. He has torn the kingdom from you and given it to your rival David. The Lord has done this to you because you refused to carry out his fierce anger against the Amalekite. What's more, the Lord will hand you and the army of Israel over to the Philistines tomorrow, and you and your son will be here with me. The Lord Yahweh Bashim Shah will bring down the entire army of Israel in defeat. So he let him know. Now, King Samuel is already in the spiritual realm as he died. Okay, so he's letting Saul know that him and his sons will be there with him. Okay, and Saul was known as a wicked king. Okay, so where is this place of hell? When was the grand opening of hell? For these niggas that teach, a hell doctrine. When did hell begin taking customs? Okay, because there's no mention of that in the death of all these different kings. Okay, they all, will go to the same place. Whether Yasha Wumba has plenty of videos on that. Okay, but just wanted to touch on that, since that was in there. But going back to First Kings, all right, chapter 2, verse 2, it says, I am going where everyone on earth must someday go, and take courage and be a man. Observe the requirements of loyal power and follow all his ways. Keep the decrees, commands, regulations, and laws written in the law of Moses, so that you will be successful in all you do and wherever you go. So he's pushing obedience. He's pushing King Solomon to be a man. Okay, and see, when you're a man, when you have to move as a man, especially men of honor, the thing of being considerate, being balanced. All right, you have to sometimes you have to make the hard decisions, whether you're looked at as a hero or the villain, because sometimes you can do the right thing and be looked at as a villain, because people around, they're not considering all the factors that you're considering. That's one thing about men. The Lord gave men the ability, to be farsighted, okay, and understand what's best, in the long term. All right. And sometimes as men, you have to make decisions in the right now. All right. And it's the right decision, but it'll make you look like a villain, and as a man, you gotta be willing, to deal with that, that dynamic. You see, make the hard decision, make the right decision, even if it's not, the most favorite. Okay. You see how our forefathers, they stood in the paint. Okay. And it seemed like a foolish thing to do. Okay. They refused to bend the knee. All right, they refused to worship idols. They refused to eat pork. They would rather die for righteousness, man. You see, that's a true masculine frame. You know, people speak about a masculine frame. Well, a masculine frame, you know, is being willing to die for righteousness. Okay, so let's keep going. Verse 4 says, "If you do this, then the Lord will keep the promise He made to me. He told me, if your descendants live as they should and follow me faithfully with all their heart and soul, one of them will always sit, all right, on the throne of Israel." Okay, so we have to understand that this promise that was made to King David, the Lord, all right, has not disannulled this promise. You see, these people over there in the land now, you know, there's no one that's sitting the throne of David. The throne of David is not even mentioned, okay, in that madness over there, the state of Israel. It's a democracy. You know, it's a Western democracy, okay? It has nothing to do, all right, with the promise that was given to King David that there will always be someone to sit the throne forever. Okay, and Yahweh Shai, he's coming to fulfill that, man. Because even when you follow the narrative from Genesis to Revelation, it's the same narrative, man. All right, and these things are going to be fulfilled in these times. Okay, this is let's get Genesis chapter 4 and verse 9. You know, and the Bible is centered around this character that will come, all right, through the descendant, all right, the descendant that will come from Judah. Okay, it says, this is on Genesis 49:10. It says, the scepter shall not depart from Judah, all right, which is the rulership, nor a lawgiver from between his feet, until Shiloh come, and unto him shall the gathering of the people be. All right, and this is Yahweh Shai, okay, which he's going to seal, okay, the promise made to King David that he will always have a descendant on this throne. Okay, verse 11 says, binding his foal into the vine and his ass coat into the choice vine, he washed his garments in wine and his clothes, all right, in the blood of grapes. You know, as he's coming back with their destruction, you know, similar to what treading on wine. Okay, the way that he's just going to tread, all right, and judge the earth in righteousness. It says his eyes shall be red with wine and his teeth, all right, white with milk. So you go here in this same character as Genesis and show you from Genesis to Revelation, the narrative never changes. All right, this is Revelation 2 and 18, and it says, and unto the angel of the church, all right, in Thyatira, right, these things said the Son of the Most High, who have his eyes like unto a flame of fire. You see, the same one who had the eyes, all right, of flame in Genesis 49. And his feet are likened unto fine brass, which describes his color. All right, they know it's a dark-skinned man. Okay, and then you go here, as they talked about the wine press. Okay, this is Revelation 19. Get to the point, Revelation 19. Okay, and 15 it says, and out of his mouth, all right, which is the opening of the chariot, goeth a sharp sword, the laser, the fire, all right, destruction. Okay, that it should smite the nations. Okay, who are these nations? Because if he's an Israelite, okay, you look at King David, all right, his reign, what did he do? He smote the heathen. Yahweh Shai is coming to smite the heathen. Okay, and it says, and he shall rule them with a rod of iron and treadeth the winepress of the fierceness and the wrath of the almighty power. Okay, so Yahweh Shai, he's coming to fulfill, okay, he's coming to reestablish the lineage, okay, of kings, all right, amongst Judah, man. Okay, you see, he's that descendant, okay, from the line of Judah, from the line, of King David, who's going to reestablish what? The throne of David. Okay, in which all 12 tribes, the men from all 12 tribes will be what? Kings and priests, beginning with the first fruit. Okay, so Yahweh Shai is coming to revamp, okay, the throne of David, that promise. Okay, he's coming to revive that dynasty that's going to rule in the earth forever, man. Okay, through the lineage, all right, of King David. You see, even you go here, it's the same narrative, man. Why is, this narrative constantly spoken about? Okay, this is this Revelation 5. All right, and I started at 1. It says, I saw in the right hand of him that sat on the throne, written within, and on the backside, sealed with 7 seals. So this is, the Most High, with the scrolls in his hand, and his seal. All right, and it says, and I saw a strong angel proclaiming with a loud voice, who is worthy to open the book and to loose the seals thereof? And no man in heaven, nor in earth, neither under the earth, was able to open the book, neither to look thereon. All right, because it was only meant, for one man. All right, who was qualified to do that. As you read in 2, and I wept much because no man was found worthy to open and to read the book, neither to look thereon. And one of the elders said unto me, weep not, behold, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the root of David, have prevailed to open the book and to loose the 7 seals thereof. Okay, so you see the narrative of the root of David, the line of the tribe of Judah. Okay, that's who's going to establish that promise, okay, made into King David. All right, the Most High is going to fulfill that promise to Yahweh Shai. Okay, that's why you even go to Genesis and Revelation and speaking about, the lineage of Judah. There was going to be a particular lineage out of Judah that was going to establish dominion forever for Israel. Okay, let's go here. I think there's another one in Revelation. Let me see. Yep, this is on Revelation. This is at the end of the book. It says, I, Yahweh Shai, have sent my angel to testify to you these things in the churches. I am the root and offspring of David and the bright and morning star. Okay, so that's part of one of the titles of Yahweh Shai, is being the root of David. Even, how Jake gave you a nickname, when he walked the earth, okay, as Yahweh Shai at his first coming. Okay, well, one of his nicknames, what? Thou son of David. That's what they referred to him. That's one of his titles that they referred to him, thou son of David. Okay, so it's through Yahweh Shai that blessing, okay, of a ruler, okay, will always be established on the throne of David. Okay, so let's go back to 2 Kings. All right, this is the book of 2 Kings, chapter 2, verse 5. It said, then the group of prophets from Jericho came to Elisha and asked him, did you know, that's a lot of trip, 1 Kings. All right, this is on 1 Kings 2. Okay, and 4 again, it says, if you do this, then the Lord will keep the promise he made to me. He told me, if your descendants live as they should and follow me faithfully with all their heart and soul, one of them will always sit on the throne of Israel. And Yahweh Shai, he pleased the Father. That's why the Heavenly Father said, this is my beloved Son, in whom I'm well pleased. Okay, it pleases the Heavenly Father to bless Yahweh Shai with everything. And we are fighting, to be pleasing to the Father. Okay, and he's gonna through Yahweh Shai give us everything, man. He said verse 5, and it says, and there is something else. So now he's gonna go into things need to be done, some unfinished business, tying up loose ends, and saying there's something else, what Joab, son of Zariah, did to me when he murdered my two army commanders, Abner, son of Ner, and Amasa, son of Jether. He pretended that it was an act of war, but it was done in a time of peace, staining his belt and sandals with innocent blood. Do with him what you think best, but don't let him grow old and go to his grave in peace. Be kind to the sons of Barzillai, all right, of Gilead. So he putting the hit out on Joab, because King David knows, all right, that Joab was going to try to cut up and take advantage of young King Solomon. I think King Solomon was around 20, which is this was Joab's little cousin, because Joab's King David's nephew. So King Solomon was his little cousin. All right. So he was gonna try little boy Solomon. All right. So King David, like, look, you're gonna have to put him to death. I call hell with him. He pretty much ain't nothing you gonna be able to do with him. All right. You're gonna have to put him to death. It says, be kind to the sons of Barzillai of Gilead, make them permanent guests at your table, for they took care of me when I fled from your brother Absalom. And remember, Shimei, son of Gerah, the man from Bahrain and Benjamin, he cursed me with a terrible curse as I was fleeing to Mahanaim when he came down to meet me at the Jordan River. I swore by the Lord that I would not kill him. And this was when King David was on the run, all right, when he had to leave the palace, from Absalom, and you had Shimei, which was a descendant of Saul, okay, pretty much cursed King David, throw rocks at him, pretty much that spirit of, kicking the man while he was down, okay, but King David had mercy on him, all right, but he's going to set something up, okay, for him to be judged on the back end. It said, but that oath does not make him innocent. You are wise and you will know how to arrange a bloody death for him. Okay, so he put a hit out on him. Okay, King David said, I said I wouldn't kill him, but you know what to do. You see, it says, then David died and was buried with his ancestors in the city of David. David had reigned over Israel for 40 years, 7 of them in Hebron and 33 in Jerusalem. All right, so it's in verse 13. It says, one day, and the Niger, so King David dies. He gives King Solomon the rundown of things that need to be, taken care of, to be done to establish, his rule. It says, one day, and the Niger, whose mother was Hagith, came to see Bathsheba, Solomon's mother. Have you come with peaceful intentions? She asked him. Yes, he said, I come in peace. Now remember, and the Niger, okay, was just trying to do the coup, was trying to supplant the throne from King Solomon. So this is King Solomon's older brother. So now he's coming, okay, to King Solomon's mother, which is Bathsheba. Okay, and it says, in fact, I have a favor to ask of you. What is it she asked? Okay, he replied, all right, as you know, the kingdom was rightfully mine. So this let you know. Now listen to how he talked. He replied, as you know, the kingdom was rightfully mine. All Israel wanted me to be the next king, but the tables were turned and the kingdom went to my brother instead, for that is the way the Lord wanted it. Okay, so he's pretending to be humble, but what he said in the beginning lets you know how he truly feels. Okay, he said the kingdom was rightfully his, and all Israel wanted him to be the next king. So it lets you know that he's still bitter. He still feels some type of way. Okay, well then he plays humble, All right. He said, but the table will turn and the kingdom went to my brother instead, for this is the way the Lord wanted it. So he's acting like, well, it's the will of the Lord, it's how he wanted it, but the kingdom was rightfully mine. Then everybody wanted me to be king. You know how a nigga is, man. Okay. And remember, King Solomon showed him mercy. You go to the previous chapter, I think towards the end. All right, this is First Kings 1:50 says, and Adonijah was afraid. This is when King Solomon was coronated, okay, and the people, all right, was rejoicing, okay. So his supplant, his scheme failed. It says, so he rushed to the sacred tent and grabbed on the horns of the altar. Word soon reached Solomon that Adonijah had seized the horn of the altar in fear, and he was pleading, let King Solomon swear today that he would not kill me. Solomon replied, if he proves himself to be loyal, not an hair on his head will be touched. But if he makes trouble, he will die. But if he makes trouble, he will die. Okay, so he received mercy. All right, and all he had to do was sit his ass down and he could live out his years. He still was of nobility. He still want to live a plush and luxurious life, okay, as a prince, okay, of some high government, official, okay, or whatever, King Solomon wanted him to be. All he had to do was sit his ass down. All right. Well, what did Jake want to do? Okay, he want to go talk to Beersheba. Okay, so let's keep reading, and it says, I read 15 again. It says, he replied, as you know, the kingdom was rightfully mine. All Israel wanted me to be the next king, but the tables were turned, and the kingdom went to my brother instead, for this is the way that the Lord wanted it. So now I have just one favor to ask you. Please don't turn me down. What is it? She asked. And it shows you Bathsheba, all right, the woman, okay, being gullible. She doesn't, she ain't peeping game, you know. But you keep reading. It says, he replied, speak to King Solomon on my behalf, for I know he would do anything you request. Ask him to let me marry Abishag, the girl from Shunem. Now, what's so interesting about this? All right, Abishag was the young virgin. All right, she was an actual virgin. All right, that they sent to take care of King David in his older age, to see if he could somehow get some heat, because his body, it stopped regulating his body temperature. Okay, so this was their last ditch effort. They sent this young, Israelite girl, okay, to see if he can get some heat. Okay, and it didn't work. So with this would be a leverage, if and then Niger, he will have the leverage to say, look, the woman, the woman that my father, couldn't arouse for, this is my wife now, and this will give him some type of claim, they'll give him some strength to his claim for the throne. So he was trying to reorganize, all right, a coup. Okay. This was the move he was making. Okay. So as he's trying to do this, when you keep reading, it says, all right, Bathsheba replied, I will speak to the king for you. And Bathsheba, let's say, the woman, gullible, she don't know. She's like, oh, the brothers just, that'd be nice. She probably planning the wedding in her head, oh, that'd be nice. You and your brothers can get along. She's not peeping the play. Okay. And it says, 1 Kings 2:19 says, so Bathsheba went to King Solomon to speak on Adonijah's behalf. The king rose from his throne to meet her and bowed down before her. Okay, which shows what the scriptures say: honor thy father and thy mother. So even as he's in the highest position that you can be in the nation, he still has a reverence, for his mother. It says when he sat down on his throne, but it wasn't no mama boy, All right, and we finna see. All right, it was far from some mama boy type. It was just a thing of honor. Okay, it says when he sat down on his throne again, the king ordered that a throne be brought for his mother, and she sat at his right hand. Okay, and this lets you know that we didn't do queens in Israel. All right, that throne, that monarch, that what you call the throne room, when cases would be brought to the king, there was only one chair in there for the Israelite man. Okay, the woman wasn't right beside him listening to the cases and giving her opinion. No, that was amongst the heathen. Okay, so a throne had to be brought so she could sit by, her son. Okay, but it wasn't a permanent throne there like you see in these heathen monarchs, man. Okay, he says when he sat down on his throne again, the king ordered that a throne be brought for his mother, and she sat at his right hand, which is a place of honor. It says, I have one small request to make of you, she said. I hope you do not turn me down. What is it, my mother? He asked. You know I won't refuse, So, and Adonijah is banking on, Solomon, okay, falling weak, okay, to his mother, okay. So he's playing the seed with the woman. All right. It's the same tactic that the serpent did. The serpent playing the seed with Eve. Okay. And what did the woman do? Her gullible ass brought it back to Adam. Okay. So this is what you're seeing now. This guy in the Niger is playing the seed with Bathsheba, and now it's being brought to King Solomon. All right. So she makes the request. She goes for it. It said, then let your brother Adonijah marry Abishag, the girl from Shunem. She replied. All right. So this is Solomon's response. It says, how can you possibly ask me to give Abishag to Adonijah? Okay. King Solomon demanded. So he snapped. All right. And in today's terms, how you gonna ask me some shit like that? Okay, but the woman not peeping the play what's going on. This is all going over her head. She's like, oh, you know how the woman get that 1,000 yard stare. Don't know what they don't know what's going on, man. Okay, so King Solomon, like, how the hell you gonna ask me something like that? Okay, you might as well when you keep reading, you might as well ask me to give him the kingdom. You know that he is my older brother, and that he has Abathar the priest and Joab, son of Zariah, on his side. She was not thinking about all that. Okay, she's not dealing with all these dynamics that's happening, man. Okay, she doesn't understand. She's just looking at their brothers, and he want a wife. That's as far as her mind goes. She's not thinking about all these dynamics. Okay, that Adonijah is still in the position to pull off a coup because he has Joab, he has a priest, so he has a little makeshift cabinet to where he has a claim to the throne, and a marriage with Abishag, okay, would only further his claim. Okay, and this will be confusion. Innocent people will have to die behind another civil war. See, the woman not thinking that far ahead, man. The woman just thinking about the right now. Okay, she's not thinking about the ripple effect of this decision. Okay, it's not just his brother asking for a wife. No, he's trying to make another play. Okay, and King Solomon peeped it immediately. Okay, and he didn't consider the emotions of his mother in his decision. All right, and it says, then King Solomon made a vow before the Lord, may the Most High strike me and even kill me if Adonijah has not sealed his fate with this request. Okay, seal his fate with this request. So all Adonijah did was seal his fate because King Solomon said he good, but if he make trouble, I'm gonna kill him. I'm gonna let him make it, but if his ass goes to making trouble, I'm gonna kill him. Okay, it said the Lord has confirmed me and placed me on the throne of my father David. He has established my dynasty all right, as he promised. So as surely as the Lord lives, Ananias will die this very day. Okay, and the nigga ain't happy until this happens. And this is also symbolic of 2/3. 2/3 gonna keep playing and playing and pushing the envelope until the Lord step down. You see, a nigga ain't happy till you have to put something on their ass, man. Okay? So Ananias, now he's finna get what he's been begging for when he could have set his ass down and lived his days in peace, man. He could have enjoyed King Solomon's reign. Okay? As we're gonna get into these things, his ass could have been there just chilling. Okay? But a nigga is never satisfied, man. It says, so King Solomon ordered Benaniah, the son of Jedediah, to execute him, and Adonijah was put to death. No more of that guy. Okay? And the Lord gives strict commandments like that. You see, and that's how the Lord is with Israel now, man. He finna stop playing. It's gonna be either or. Okay? You go to Isaiah 1. Okay? It's the book of Isaiah, chapter 1. All right. It's Isaiah chapter 1, verse 19. It says, if you only obey me, you will have plenty to eat, abundance. Okay? If you look at that situation, Adonijah, if he would have been straight, if he would have held his peace, not been in his emotions, okay, he would have benefited, he would have enjoyed the righteous rulership of King Solomon. Okay, he would have had 40 years of balling out of control. Okay, like he would enjoy the richest rulership the earth has seen if he would set his ass down. Okay, and this is what we have before us, because it will say the scripture say he's going to do us better, than before. Okay, so here it is. We're getting ready to be established. Okay, it's an eternal kingdom. Okay, abundance beyond what we can fathom. All right, and the Lord just requires us to obey. Okay, love the Heavenly Father with all our mind, soul, and spirit. Which within that, we won't get into idolatry and the culture that comes with idolatry. No, we'll be faithful to our power, serving Him. Love thy brothers thyself, man. Okay, on these two hang all the commandments. Obey me, and you're gonna have plenty to eat. You're gonna be straighter than straight forever. Okay, simple command. Verse 2. But if you turn away and refuse to listen, like we just seen Ananias, this nigga refused to listen. Okay, you will be devoured by the sword of your enemies. I, the Lord Yahweh Bashim Shai, have spoken, man. So the Lord puts out simple decrees. Okay, it's simple. You obey, you scrape. You disobey, All right. So Ananias is an example of the mind of the 2/3. Niggas just refuse to listen and want to do what they want to do. And you can do nothing but, all right, hey, delete them. That's why 2/3, hey, they gotta be returned to sender, and they're gonna be brought back in their right mind, man. But they just had this rebellion. They just had this, this they just slaves to rebellion, man. Okay, they have to rebel. Okay, let me see. I think it's one in Corinthians, not Corinthians, Chronicles. So the Lord gives straight commands. It's not difficult, Let me see. Go to KJV. I think that's in Chronicles. Let's see. Yep, this is Second Chronicles 15 and 13. All right. It says And it says, 2 Chronicles 15:13 said that whosoever would not seek the Lord, all right, Yahweh Bashem Al Shah, power of Israel, should be put to death, whether small or great, whether man or woman. All right, so don't matter your status, no matter your gender, okay, your age, okay, you're gonna obey or pay. And see, that's where Yahweh Shai is at with it, man. You know, that's the spirit he's coming in. All right, Yahweh Shai coming in that First Kings, all right, 2 and chapter 2 spirit, man. Okay, because history just paints King Solomon like he's just this you know philosophical figure, just writing and walking through his garden all day, looking at the animals, and which he did that, but he got down on your ass too, you know. Before he got into that, he was getting down. All right, and he was crossing people out, man. Okay, and that's the spirit Yahweh Shai, is coming in. Okay, so let's go here. I think there's one more in Proverbs, and we go back to the story. God damn, and Elijah. This is on Proverbs 13:13 says, "Whoso despiseth the word shall be destroyed, but he that feareth the commandment shall be rewarded." Okay, simple instructions. Even if Ananias still felt the way, even if he just shut his ass up, he would have been good. But the nigga had to go plotting and scheming. All right. The scriptures say when the fool, all right, keeping his mouth, he is considered wise. So even if he just felt the type of way and shut the hell up, okay, and didn't try to, pull something off, he would have been good, but the nigga couldn't even do that. All right. So he wrote himself out the script. Okay, so this is what we get. This is all right. Now this is First Kings 2:26. So now we're gonna see, King Solomon just start breaking it, that alliance up, with Abathar, all right, and Adonijah and Joab. Okay, so he's gonna break that alliance up. First Kings 2:26 says, "And unto Abathar the priest said to the king, all right, get thee to Ananoth unto thy own fields, for thou art worthy of death. But I will not at this time put thee to death, because thou bearest the ark of the Lord power before David my father, and because thou hast been afflicted in all wherein my brother was afflicted." Okay, so Abathar the priest, he's pretty much putting him in exile. Well, he's not putting him in exile. He's banishing him to his property, his estates. Like, look, take your ass home. Okay, I'm gonna spare you because you bear the ark, with my father. But basically, look, whatever you got, whatever business you got going on in Jerusalem is over. All right, take your ass home. All right. It says, so Solomon thrust out Abathar from being priest unto the Lord, that he might fulfill the word of the Lord which he spoke concerning the house of Eli and Shiloh. So that was the end of the descendants of Eli being priests. They'll never go back to the descendants of Eli, which you're going to get there in a minute. It said, then tidings came to Joab, for Joab had turned, all right, after Adonijah, though he turned not against Absalom. Joab fled unto the tabernacle of the Lord and caught hold of the horns of the altar. So Joab knew, all right, he seen, he got the news that Adonijah was put to death. Okay, Abathar was banished, okay, from Jerusalem and from the priesthood. Okay, so he knew, all right, that he was next up. Okay, And it says, when this was reported to King Solomon, so he went, and put his, he grabbed onto the mercy seat, the horns of the altar. It says, when this was reported to King Solomon, he sent Benaniah, son of Jehoiada, to execute him. Benaniah went to the sacred tent of the Lord and said to Joab, the king orders you to come out. But Joab answered, no, I will die here. So Benaniah returned to the king and told him what Joab had said. And the king responded and said, do as he said. The king replied, kill him there. All right, kill him there beside the altar and bury him. And this will remove the guilt of Joab's senseless murder from me and my father's, family. So Joab, he's in the tabernacle, okay, and he in his mind, like, okay, they ain't gonna shed no blood in the tabernacle. Shit. King Solomon said, well, look, kill that nigga in the tabernacle. Grant his request. Okay, because he was thinking like that. Maybe little cuz have mercy on me. Well, no, it's King Solomon was done playing with niggas, man. Okay, kill that nigga. All right, right there. Grant that nigga request. All right, he said the Lord will repay him for the murders of two men who were more righteous and better than he. For my father knew nothing about the deaths of Abner, son of Ner, commander of the army of Israel, and Amasa, son of Jether, commander of the army of Judah. May their blood be on Joab and his descendants forever, and may the Lord grant peace forever to David, his descendants, his dynasty, and his throne. King Solomon put the blessing on their throne. Was we finna see that blessing flourish, man. We're seeing it flourish now, man. Their house is being built now. So Benaniah, son of Jehoiada, returned to the sacred tent and killed Joab, and he was buried at his home in the wilderness. Then the king appointed Benaniah to command the army in place of Joab, and he installed Zadok, the priest, to take the place of Abiathar. The king then sent forth Shimei and told him, build a house in Jerusalem and live there, but don't step outside the city to go anywhere else. So now, okay, he got, he's going down this list. So, and Adonijah, he's been put to death. Abiathar been banished. Joab been put to death. And now this guy of the house of Benjamin, that that was cursing, King David and, harassing him, when he was on the move, getting away from Absalom. So now he's putting the play together for him. Okay, he said the king sent for Shimei and told him, build a house here in Jerusalem and live there, but don't step outside the city to go anywhere else. On the day you so much as cross the Kidron Valley, you will surely die, and your blood will be upon your own head. Shimei replied, your sentence is fair. I will do whatever the Lord, my king commands. So Shimei lived in Jerusalem for a long time. But 3 years later, two of Shimei's slaves ran away to King Achish, son of Maacah of Gath. When Shimei learned where they were, he saddled his donkey and went to Gath to search for them. When he found them, he brought them back to Jerusalem. So remember, he was given orders not to leave Jerusalem. Okay, but this is going to a nigga doing what they want to do. Okay, he could have sent men, to go get those slaves, to retrieve those servants. Okay, but what do a nigga do? Exactly what he want to do. And it says, so the king sent for Shemaiah and demanded, and see, King Solomon played a nigga disobedience against him, because niggas not gonna listen, man. Eventually the nigga gonna do what he want to do. So the King Solomon set that nigga up, for to fail, because niggas, obedience is repellent to a nigga, man. It says, so the king sent for Shemaiah and demanded, Didn't I make you swear by the Lord and warn you not to go anywhere else, or you will surely die? And you replied, the sentence is fair. I will do, okay, as you say. Then why haven't you kept your oath unto the Lord and obeyed my command? The king also said to Shimei, you certainly remember all the wicked things you did to my father David. May the Lord now bring that evil on your own head. But may I, King Solomon, receive the Lord's blessing, and may one of David's descendants always sit on this throne in the presence of the Lord, Yahweh Bashem al Shah. Then, at the king's command, Benaniah, son of Jehoiada, took Shema outside and killed him. So the kingdom was firmly in Solomon's grip. Okay, so when you know, First Kings chapter 2, we see King Solomon go on a tear. Okay, you know, and this is, you know, his rulership was established. Okay, and he came with that rod of iron. He stopped having mercy, man. Okay, First Kings, the first chapter, that was the chapter of mercy. All right, and if you bucked up against that mercy in the first chapter, there wasn't no second chances in the second chapter, man. You out of here. Okay, and that's the time, and this is how Yahweh Shai coming back. Okay, when you go here, this is the book. There you go. This is the book of Jeremiah 25. Okay, let me get back to KJV. All right, this is Jeremiah 25 and 33. It says, and the slain of the Lord shall be at that day. All right, and this is going to be through Yahweh Shai, from one end of the earth even to the other end of the earth. They shall not be lamented, neither gathered nor buried. They shall be dung upon the ground. So Yahweh Shai just coming through slaughterhouse, man. You know, Yahweh Shai finna drop bodies, man. This is the time of mercy. And when this mercy is up, man, it's just gonna be judgment. Okay? The Lord and Yahweh Shai is finna, the same way that he came through wrecking shop to establish, you know, the throne of his father, all right, in the earth. And he's come to do the same thing. So the throne of David will be established, okay, in judgment, man. Okay, that's how that throne is going to be established. Let's get that in Jeremiah 23. Okay, Jeremiah 23 and 5. It said, behold, the days come, said the Lord, Yahweh Bashem al Shai, that I will raise unto David a righteous branch, and a king shall reign and prosper, and shall execute judgment and justice in the earth. Okay? So Yahweh Shai is coming to reign and prosper, and judgment is going to go forth in the earth, man. We live in a society where righteous judgment is long overdue. As scriptures say, when the vilest men are exalted, the wicked walk on every side. Well, Yahweh Shai coming to handle that, man. All this alphabet and, you know, all this lewdness and pedos and adulterers, and see, the Lord finished, Yahweh Shai finna come through, man. Okay, this great rebellion against Yahweh Bashem al Shai, Yahweh Shai is coming to end this rebellion, man. From the armies, this beast system, America, NATO, and EU, all right, to the straight nigga and the nigga woman walking around the neighborhood. Yahweh Shai finna put down all rebellion, man. Okay, let's go here. We ended with Proverbs 25 and 5. Okay. So this is the book of Proverbs 25 and 5. It said, take away the wicked from before the king. Okay, and King Solomon was taking away all wickedness. Okay, that was around him, man. All right, Yahweh Shai is coming to do this on a much larger scale, man. Okay, and it says his throne shall be established in righteousness. Take away the wicked from before the king. And we know right now this begins with Esau, Edom. Okay, and his throne shall be established in righteousness, man. So before the throne, all right, of righteousness is established, a lot of judgment gonna go forth, man. Okay, a lot of judgment. All right, so yeah, that's the point. Just wanted to get into that this morning. All right, Lord will, you brothers, all right, and you sisters edified once again. I give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Kakwadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples towards y'all brothers, and peace and blessings, salutation, hopefully, Shalom.